Poetry has become a way of life for me. It's a system of belief. It's a way of describing what the world feels and looks like. And it's a way of telling the world how I feel. I think it's about inner landscapes rather than facts and figures and information. And it's a way of, testing language and using it at its most flexible and adaptive and joyful sometimes.
Why does poetry matter?
Why does poetry matter? Well, I think without it, you can probably get used to the idea that the world is made out of prose and it's made out of news. A lot of the language that gets used around certain topics becomes very threadbare and careworn and exhausted. And poetry is a way of renewing what we think and feel about things. It asks a lot of language in the way that if we're alert to it, language asks a lot about us. So it matters because it's language at its keenest and its craftiest. And we can do things with poems and explore and sometimes discover ideas that without it, we just wouldn't know about. I think the Forward Prizes, like any prizes, are really about giving confidence to people who are shortlisted and who win. I mean, the money comes in handy. But without those prizes, I think that poetry might devalue itself slightly as an art form. You look around, you see the prizes that are given out for novels, fiction, biography, and for other art forms. And poetry needs to have that confidence that, there are people who value it to the same extent. I was one of the very early winners of a Forward Prize, and I used the money to buy a Vauxhall Nova, and I've never looked back. Well, except in the rear view mirror and the wing mirrors. But I think what I was really given on that occasion was confidence. Somebody was saying, I know that you've embarked on this very peculiar career path, but we value what you do and we'd like to hear some more of it. The prizes were very different then. There's a different format. And I think the accolade I was given was something like most promising poet. I don't know what promises I'd made. But yeah, you come out of that room feeling valued and confident. It seems to say to you that what you're doing, which might seem strange, is the thing that we want you to carry on doing. And maybe there's a little bit of feeling as if you've found your place in literature, which is, quite a big and scary space. But by and large, when you get back home and close the door, I think what it makes you want to do is to write more and carry on in what can be, sometimes quite an uncertain undertaking. I think there's a nervousness around prizes, actually, in poetry. I think that some people who go into poetry have a sense of any kind of competition being a little bit vulgar and not why they'd entered this sort of field of endeavour. And the competition side of it can feel awkward. I know being backstage at these events, sometimes you want to go out there and you want to do well because you feel as if you want to win. But I think it's important that poets look beyond that. I think just knowing that somebody has read your work and has thought a lot about it is a prize in itself. I think one thing that's been really important about the Forward Prizes is the way that it's adapted to changes in society and changes in poetry that come along with it, with those new directions. So this year's format has a category for best new performed work. I couldn't have imagined that when I started writing, but I think it's a reflection of what where poetry is and the direction it's travelled. Since I started writing, the definition of poetry has widened enormously, and I think that's reflected in the way that this set of prizes has changed. My favourite writing prompt. I don't really know what that means. That sounds like a workshop technique. My favourite writing prompt is probably also my least favourite writing prompt. It's the blank sheet of paper. It's a pretty scary encounter. Somebody once said, it's hard to look at a blank sheet of paper and know how to improve it. And I still think that sometimes when I sit down, it's very confrontative, this sort of snow blindness that you're faced with. But equally, the challenge and the pleasure of making something is provocation enough in itself. I've always wanted to be a maker, and that's the workbench.